It started. Car prices are falling 50%. The pandemic's most noteworthy consequences has been the increase in used automobile prices. Some second-hand automobiles in 2023 were going higher than their MSRP. This circumstance is unheard of, literally. There is rather obvious cause for the rising cost of cars that has been well discussed, and almost everyone knows about it at this point. Car manufacturers have struggled to develop new automobiles as supply lines have gotten congested, driving an increasing number of purchasers into the used car market. So that's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video, so buckle up. American used car market bubble. During the pandemic, used car values skyrocketed as millions of customers were locked up and spent their stimulus money on new vehicles. For the automobile sector, COVID was the ideal storm. Due to their expectations of a severe recession, manufacturers canceled semiconductor orders in 2020, but to combat deflation, governments all over the world issued money which boosted demand for both new and second-hand vehicles. A disproportionate amount of money ended up chasing automobiles since customers weren't spending as much on vacations, live entertainment, or eating out. Normally, the industrial supply chain could adapt to this. But due to the high demand for work-from-home jobs, the market for chips was virtually closed off, which drastically restricted the supply of new automobiles. However, since the peak, the wholesale prices for used cars have fallen by around 20%. In the future, there is no convincing reason why used vehicle prices shouldn't go nearer to their pre-pandemic standard, since manufacturers can create to satisfy demand and make money. According to an ancient adage in economics, high prices are the only remedy for high prices. Moving ahead is probably true. Manufacturers will sell as many automobiles as they can to the minority who want to pay outrageous rates for cars right now, since the majority of people don't really want to do so without stimulus money in their pockets. However, the fundamental problem is that individuals aren't just paying their money to buy a car. Actually, whether through their dealership, bank, or credit union, between 80% and 90% of buyers of new cars and around 60% of buyers of used cars obtain a loan to finance their purchase. The unanswered question is whether the millions of people who borrow money to buy automobiles at inflated prices will default on their loans at higher rates than they typically do in light of the sky-high costs for cars and the skyrocketing interest rates. Overpaying for a used automobile is a personal issue, but if enough people overpay and then default, banks and lenders may also experience issues. Are used car sales the next financial crisis? Although I don't believe there is a systematic danger, it appears likely to punish slothful banks and lenders that rely their lending decisions primarily on the value of used cars rather than the creditworthiness of the borrowers. The used automobile market, as it relates to the economy, is probably more of a symptom than a disease, with customers being unduly reliant on government stimulus, protracted amortizations, and cheap loan rates as opposed to their own earning potential. Furthermore, Cathie Wood has offered dismal predictions regarding the used car industry, predicting significant losses for manufacturers and lenders as buyers switch to electric vehicles. The intriguing thing about this instance, though, is that since the collateral's value is so erratic, loans were granted at exorbitant rates. Lenders may suffer historically high losses as a result of the current collapse in used automobile values, and it raises the question of how many of these loans Wall Street securitizes and then sells onto investors' balance sheets as being quite safe when in fact the collateral is fairly weak. In contrast, Wolf Richter, the creator of Wolf Street and a former manager of a sizable Ford F dealership, has consistently covered the automotive industry. After recently reporting on the present shortages of electric vehicles, EVs, and fuel-efficient automobiles, as well as the surplus of pickup trucks and big SUVs, Wolf is much less pessimistic about the auto industry as a whole. The implications of used car bubble for you. The majority of you who are reading this either own a car now or formerly did. The market is giving some very strong cues. An automobile can be sold right now. Selling your additional car now while costs are high and on the decline is a fantastic idea if you don't really need it. I'll say it again, even if this has been accurate for long. In September, I sold my personal vehicle at a premium. An automobile purchase right now is not advised. The value of whatever you buy will diminish like an ice cube in the sun, with used automobile values declining at a rate of about 2% each month. In 2022, the biggest used vehicle lenders undoubtedly made a ton of faulty loans with artificially inflated used car valuations. If they experience sufficiently severe losses, their shares might be subject to negative income and possible dilution. Things to consider. Other factors such as whether or not the economy will still be expanding quickly when manufacturers begin production will also be important. Automakers may end up with an excess of automobiles if they can resume production at full capacity, only to discover that demand has decreased. The issue is indeed tricky, and all parties involved will need to get ready for an unpredictable future. Dealers that have profited from strong earnings will still have to anticipate EVs, direct purchasing, and declining margins in the future. If the market for used automobile declines and people find themselves holding cars that are suddenly worth less than what they owe, lenders and purchasers may also experience issues.